Good evening there, y'all. It's Meteorologist Frank Strait here. We have a lot of weather going on as we approach Christmas Eve and day, and some high-impact stuff worth talking about. So we'll do this forecast update here for you on Wednesday evening to talk about what we'll be dealing with. In a nutshell, if you have travel plans, allow extra time, plenty of it, and a lot of extra patience for travel, as there's going to be a lot of hazards that we have to deal with over Christmas Eve and even into Christmas Day for the mountains, as there's going to be some snow to deal with up there. Now, as we get underway here, we're looking at late Wednesday afternoon satellite pictures, visible satellite imagery with the sun setting over this part of the world. You can see the swirl associated with a potent storm system that's moving through the upper Midwest. They're seeing heavy snow across parts of the upper Midwest. So another place that if you have travel plans, be prepared for some major delays there. But the trailing front that extends southward through the mid-Mississippi Valley is what we're going to be contending with. It's heading our way and, again, going to be causing a variety of hazards for us over the next 36 hours or so. Let's jump ahead and look at the upper air pattern and see how that evolves over the next few days. And again, through the short term, we'll look at a few more details here. Currently, we have a sharp upper trough that's over the nation's midsection, southward buckling of the jet stream there. That will quickly translate eastward as we head through Thursday and into Friday, pushing that cold front eastward with it. And this strong upper support results in a stormy situation for us. And behind the cold front, some much colder air pushes in that results in some snow flying in the mountains. Again, some more details on that in a moment. But this feature will continue to progress eastward and get out of our hair, and that results in things quieting down considerably by the time we get to Saturday into Sunday. This is Saturday we're looking at here, and you can see the upper flows turning more or less west to east for a time, and that generally results in no major storm systems to deal with. In our case, quiet weather setup. And the next storm system to deal with, it looks as though that goes through the Great Lakes states during the first part of next week, Monday into Tuesday. And although it will support another cold front into the Carolinas, it won't have a lot of moisture and energy to work with. So I don't expect to see much action with that front as it moves through. Another sharp upper trough, though, develops over the nation's midsection around the middle of next week, though, and progresses eastward in a similar fashion to the one we'll be dealing with through the Christmas holiday here. So be prepared for another round of active weather late next week as we approach New Year's. Behind that, general west-east flow results in a quiet spell to start 2021. Now, some details here. This is what the GFS model looks like for Christmas Eve, and this is the early evening station here, or time step here, with a cold front that's pushing through the Carolinas at this point. To get some more details, I'm going to switch to one of the mesoscale models. In this case, I'm looking at the high-res rapid refresh model, and this is first thing in the morning, about 7 a.m. For Christmas Eve, Thursday. By this point, we'll already see some rain spreading over the western Carolinas and some shower activity breaking out a little bit farther east, according to this model anyway. As the day progresses, I'll just advance this forward. You can see rains, heavy at times, likely with some embedded thunderstorms going on across upstate South Carolina and western North Carolina, and that goes on into the afternoon. Now, as this activity reaches the I-77 corridor, it's going to start running into some very warm and fairly unstable air that'll be in place farther east. And notice that the model's showing thunderstorms breaking out over the PD region in South Carolina and much of eastern North Carolina with some thunderstorms and potentially some severe ones, in addition to severe storms that can be going on along the cold front as it reaches the I-77 corridor and progresses farther east. And again, that stormy setup continues. Some individual discrete storm cells, we call them, over eastern North Carolina. Some of those likely to be severe, and also some potentially severe storms with the front itself moving into eastern North Carolina late in the day and into the evening. A stormy setup through eastern North Carolina through tomorrow evening. Now, the Storm Prediction Center has that area in enhanced risk. That's level 3 of 5. So this is a fairly significant, at least for December, setup here. And the situation is going to favor not only supercell thunderstorms with a tornado risk, those discrete cells out ahead of the main line of storms, but also locally damaging winds and perhaps some more widespread damaging winds as the front pushes through later in the day and into the evening. Less of a tornado risk, but still something of a high wind risk with at least locally with those storms farther west over toward the Charlotte area and up to the Triad too. And also farther south into South Carolina. This particular map highlights North Carolina, but there is some severe weather risk for the PD region, including a tornado risk and a damaging wind risk for the low country and Midlands of South Carolina too, over toward the CSRA as well. Likely not much in the way of severe weather. Can't totally rule out some locally damaging winds in upstate South Carolina and toward the foothills here, but very low concern, I think, for that. Now, in addition to that, backing up to the high-res rapid refresh model here, notice just in general, you back it up here and go again. Notice how close the isobars are together here, and it's also very windy. A lot of what we call a low-level jet is going on here ahead of this front, pumping the warmth and moisture northward. And as that intersects the mountains, some damaging winds are a concern here. I mean, potentially some wind gusts, 60 or so miles an hour, maybe 70 plus in the highest elevations here in western North Carolina. So some downed trees, isolated power outages could be a concern there. It is going to be generally windy ahead of and behind this front as well, but not quite as severe as what you'd expect in the high ground in the mountains here, below 3,000 feet in the mountains and elsewhere around the Carolinas. Winds are going to be more in the 30 to 40 mile an hour range and the stronger gusts that you see there. Now, the exception to that rule may be over toward the Outer Banks, where winds might get to the 40 to 50 mile an hour range once again here as well. Now, as I mentioned, once we get the front through, much colder air just blast right in, say a genuine shot of Arctic air, and although it'll be short-lived, it'll be plunging in rapidly. So in addition to a turn from rain to snow that you see the models predicting here in the afternoon and into the evening hours in the mountains, the rain with the front does end with a little snow in the mountains. It also stays pretty windy here with the wind switching to the northwest, and northwest flow means snow this time of year, typically in the mountains behind a cold front, and this will be no exception. We'll see a couple of inches in the higher elevations and coming down even to the valley floors here. I don't think we'll see a couple of inches in Asheville, but could see a coating on the grass or something like that with this as it's moving out. And then the northwest flow snow gets underway, and it's going to be windy as well with this much, much colder air blasting in here. And the snow showers continue through the night and even in the day. This model is actually showing containment getting broken here through the night and a little band coming east. I'm not convinced that happens, but as a trailing upper disturbance comes through during the day Friday, this model indicates during Christmas Day that we might see a flurry or two pop up here and there, especially North Carolina. I think the odds are a little better of this happening in North or South than South Carolina. But nonetheless, few flurries might well pop up, and you might see some snow in the air in a few places east of the mountains. Don't count on this. Not every model is showing this happening, but I think it's within the realm of possibility just because we have such a strong upper trough and potentially getting things unstable because it's going to be extremely cold aloft with this upper trough moving through. Now, again, with this trailing disturbance that comes through late in the day, this model only goes out as far as midday on Christmas Day, but I think we will see another push of more substantial snow, still light, but pushing through the mountains here and into and through the mountains here in the afternoon and evening, so potentially leading to some slick spots on the roads there in the mountains. All right, so we've covered the snow. The one other thing I have kind of left out here is the heavy rain potential here. I mentioned the rain would be heavy, and it could be heavy enough to cause some flooding. Weather Prediction Center's excessive rainfall outlook does have marginal to slight risk. Main area of concern is going to be along the Blue Ridge here with some very heavy rain that could potentially go over 2 inches. In some places. Here's the GFS's rainfall plot here going out 60 hours from the 12Z run, and a fairly wide area here of rainfall reaching 2 inches in the upstate of South Carolina and western North Carolina. Some minor flooding that can result there. I also wanted to show the snowfall plot from the GFS. GFS actually tries to bring some accumulations east of the mountains here. I'm skeptical that works out, but going through Christmas, these heavier snows that's showing up in the mountains, 4 to 6 inches in some cases, inches. I think that's legit, and I think we will see that in the favored northwest flow snow and potentially a coating to an inch even in some of the less favored spots going through Christmas night. So keep that in mind, the potential for some slippery travel up there in the mountains. So we've covered, I think, everything going through Christmas Day here, and I'll just advance the GFS on through here, and we'll pick it up on Saturday, where things will be quieted down considerably, although first thing Saturday morning, high pressure centered over South Alabama here has the cold air fully entrenched. It's going to be probably the coldest morning we've seen season to date. We'll see some single digits in the mountains, maybe even get down close to zero in some of the higher spots here in the mountains. Outside the mountains, likely just about everybody below freezing except the Outer Banks, likely widespread 20s, even some low 20s showing up in the outside of the mountains, but single digits and teens in the mountains, I think. Now, as we go through the day, temperatures moderate somewhat to more typical December levels, but still on the chilly side for your Saturday, but the sun will be out. That helps things out a little bit. Sunday, returning some gifts potentially. Looks like no trouble with the weather here, with high pressure drifting off the east coast and a slight further increase in the temperature levels there. So we do warm things up a little bit more, but still on the chilly side. Again, the next cold front heads our way early next week. Not Monday, though. I think through the day Monday, we're pretty good, except in the mountains where we might see a shower pop up later in the day, but this front doesn't have much moisture to work with. However, it is going to be another chilly shot coming in behind that. And again, as I mentioned, another pretty potent storm system looks to develop over the nation's midsection toward the middle of next week. There's a Tuesday night we're looking at, Wednesday morning, Wednesday evening. If the GFS has the timing right, there is the strong trailing front here with some thunderstorms over the mid-Mississippi Valley. It's trying to break out a little bit of light precipitation, maybe cold enough during the onset of this that there's some icy patches to deal with in parts of western North Carolina. Can't rule that out, but don't worry about it too much just yet. But another soaking rain and potentially stormy setup looks to be on the way late next week. The GFS says New Year's Eve at this point, but hopefully drying out in time for festivities that night as we finally get rid of 2020. And again, looks as though high pressure builds back in for the first few days of 21, resulting in a quiet spell and temperatures again moderating after a shot of chill, but it won't be as cold behind that front as it will be behind the first front we'll be dealing with for Christmas Eve and going into Christmas Day. It's going to be real cold Christmas Day. All right, that's your forecast update. Have a good evening and Merry Christmas to one and to all a good night.